shy of the goal line. Gabriel. Jackson. Touchdown, Oregon.
Only 12 yards of offense. Gabriel's going to take a shot. Look for the explosive. Down the sideline. Stewart has it. There it is. 4-yard line. Trailing 10-7. Gabriel has time to set up and fire over the middle towards the end zone. There's the catch.
Austin through on that play. Fake the quarterback run. Gabriel loads up. He's got his man. And it's a touchdown to Tez Johnson.
Now we'll see this route runner.
Gabriel protected over the top.
Gabriel. Rifles. Caught. Ferguson. Shakes free.
In their favor, so you're going to see a little more zone tonight.
And welcome everybody to the glorious episode of The Signal Caller. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Solo Lopez. You catch us on Twitter. If Twitter doesn't explode soon, at POR SBR is my Twitter handle, and then his is the Solo Lopez. So check us out there. It's little football stuff. The draft is coming, and then also you have the next step is the Super Bowl has commenced. And now we have the fun part of the year, I guess, for everybody else who didn't go to the Super Bowl would be the combine. The combine is next on the list, so we'll have fun with that stuff. Let's just do a real recap of the Super Bowl. I know you didn't watch it. You watched it. You watched it because long story why Soul did not watch Super Bowl, but you know what happened. Thoughts about what took place. First of all, let's just talk about it's a quarterback show. A lot of this show because it's inspired by quarterbacks in the draft. Jalen Hurts, I think that, and I've heard people, people like John Middlecoff and people like Colin Cowherd say, "Oh, that was the perfect Jalen Hurts game. Throw the ball 28 times or less, or 25 times or less, and then run the ball a little bit, all the stuff like that." Kind of like. Because they don't want to put him in the class of the guys who they perceive to be better passers. This is the second Super Bowl he's made, right? And it's also the second great performance in a Super Bowl. Like, you know what I mean? That says a whole lot. Like, you know what I mean? The guy has been see what you want about the tush push. He's been a touchdown machine. His whole career, and he's been producing touchdowns for a long period of time now, and he played well, and it could be easily a play here, a play there, be 2-0 in the Super Bowl and have 2 rings. Thoughts about Jalen Hurts and his performance in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs?
One of the things that reminds me of where Jalen Hurts is now, and obviously he's a little bit ahead of these next 2 guys that I'm going to talk about, but Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson got out of that. Well, they're just runners. They're dual threat guys. They're not going to pass you. They're not exactly the elite tier quarterback guys. They had to shed a lot of that negative narratives around him. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be the same with Hurts right now just by winning the Super Bowl. Obviously, he's doing something that none of those other guys are doing, but to just insert him into the top 5 just because of this situation, it's a little tougher, even though he looks like, he could be 2 defensive stops away from being 2-0 against Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. He's all of a sudden Eli Manning, a fringe first ballot Hall of Famer, who's beaten GOATs in the Super Bowl, So it's just a couple things like that. But he played outstanding, and he played exactly the way he needed to play. Like, I'm not going to discredit Russell Wilson because he actually played well in that Super Bowl too. Against the Broncos, their defense was destroying the Broncos offense. So it's a matter of sometimes these types of things happen, and you have to have the right guy at the helm. But a lot of people want to say, well, the team is better than the quarterback. Fine, that's fine. But that doesn't mean you can put any quarterback into the system, into that position, and into that game and expect the same results. It's just asinine to even suggest that. At some point, quarterback play matters for people that are trying to say that the team argument. He played outstanding, and he played the way he needed to play. He turned the ball over once, but he was the driving force of the offense. The Kansas City Chiefs made it very clear that they were selling out to stop Saquon Barkley. They were going to make Jalen Hurts beat them, and he did offensively. And it's as simple as that. The game plan was stop Saquon Barkley. They did that. What was the option number 2? Jalen Hurts had to have a good game. He had an exceptional game, and they blew the Chiefs out. Defensively, obviously, deserves unbelievable credit. They rushed 4 all game long and just absolutely annihilated Patrick Mahomes. Every turn, he was under pressure, and I think they only blitzed after the game was already like 34-0. I think that was the first time they actually blitzed, and it was their secondary unit. So the front four deserves a lot of credit, but when your offense has the biggest piece of that part being shut down and stopped because the game plan is to sell out to stop that, your job as a quarterback and your responsibility is to take the game over, and that's what he did. And now he's a Super Bowl champ.
Yeah, and good for him, good for the Eagles. And we talk about GOATs all the time, and the GOAT general manager is Howie Roseman.
Howie Roseman.
I mean, the remake of what he does to these teams, and then just constructing teams to beat 2 GOATs, it's just been incredible. He's able to bring in a player who did have off the field issues and Jalen Carter, and insulate him, bring him into the system, whether it's the family aspect of it, no matter what the aspect of it you want to bring up. He's done a great job of, like, not everybody has a clean slate in life. He didn't have a clean slate in life, but that kid has not been anywhere near a newspaper clipping of getting in trouble. And he's been a fantastic player for them. He's been a little bit better than Tyree Wilson.
A little? Just a little?
Just a smidge.
Just a little bit?
A little bit.
Tyree Wilson, shout out. He's our boy. We got to support him the best we can, but we hate the fact that he's a Raider and Jalen Carter is not. It's just the truth. So I think the flip side of the situation about the other side, the losers bracket, now, this becomes really interesting because I think prematurely, maybe not prematurely, because I've been on both sides of the argument with both Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. I've been on one side where I'm frustrated with his fantasy stuff, obviously, but also there are times that Jalen Hurts has played really, really badly during long stretches where he played like 7-8 straight games where he had a turnover, a really bad turnovers. And then, there are other games where it's like, okay, well, this guy is like a fringe top 5, top 10 quarterback the way he looks, but it's just there's a lot of inconsistency into his game, but he does win a lot. He does the necessary things that his team asks of him to do. And so you flip over to the Patrick Mahomes argument now. It was like, well, he's the second best quarterback of all time, bar none. But now with the way that he's performed in the Super Bowl and all the Super Bowls, mind you, it's kind of tough to put him up there and just automatically let him pass Montana and make sure that he's that guy. And I did it. I did it earlier in the season. I said he's already the second best quarterback of all time. Obviously, I didn't expect a performance like this in the Super Bowl. And now it becomes, well, this is not the only Super Bowl that he's performed poorly in. This is not the only game. So if you look at his playoff record, I think he has 48 touchdowns to only 10 interceptions. 7 of those are in the Super Bowl. He only has 13 turnovers in his entire playoff career and has over 50 touchdowns total, but 10 of those have come in the Super Bowl games. So it's like, those are tough stats to just be like, well, let's just put him in there with Montana. And it's like, I don't want to say something absurd like Patrick Mahomes peaked a couple years ago, but it's very clear that even being the best quarterback in football and being able to be one of the best players, if not the best player in the NFL, he still needs that support, man. He still needs Travis Kelce to be good. He still needs a good wide receiver to throw to. He still needs these things in order. And you can't just play the rotating skill position that they've done over the last 3 years. They've gotten it done a lot by the way they've won games, but you saw this coming. You said it was inevitable that this team was going to eventually just their luck was going to run out. And I said it all year. I did not believe in the Chiefs. I thought they were going to go. I thought they were going to literally get beat by the Bills. I just like even before they had their first loss. I just did not see this team as a team that felt like could win it all. I took the field early, middle, and late in terms of winning the Super Bowl, and they just ran into a team that really was disrespected for the whole time because nobody even cared about this game during the week. It was the Luka Doncic trade that basically took all of the Super Bowl steam out of it. People didn't want to watch. The Super Bowl viewer numbers apparently were down in certain parts of the situation, and it's just like the steam of the Super Bowl had gone out, and most people were like, "We're not going to pick against the Chiefs because in a close game, it just feels like they're going to get it." And just the Eagles came in and absolutely steamrolled them in every facet of the game. Even Jake Elliott. Jake Elliott hit like 6 kicks, and 2 of them he had to get called back because of penalty. Like he hit every kick he kicked in that game. He was unbelievable. So it's like they just destroyed the Chiefs. And maybe there was a little bit of FU to the Philadelphia Eagles, like being overlooked, being disrespected. Nobody believes in us, that we couldn't, we didn't have the ability to do this, even with Saquon Barkley having a bad game. So there's a lot of narratives to be had out of this. Obviously, the Eagles are here to stay. Howie Roseman is the best general manager in football. And the Chiefs have an interesting offseason because of the Travis Kelce thing, the skill position player thing, Rashee Rice coming back, Andy Reid. How much longer does Andy Reid have to go? Is Mahomes really not as good as he was prior to this? I'm not in that side of the argument. I think he's going to come out and probably throw like 46 touchdowns next year just to prove everybody wrong. But there's a lot of narratives coming out of this that are interesting for the offseason.
Yeah, a whole lot of stuff here, and like I said, if you listen to us on Spaces and other places, we were in concert together about the whole taking the field against the Chiefs, because you cannot win, what 2018 straight games with only in one score fashion. Like you just can't. Yeah. You just can't. You're too much on a tightrope there, and they finally fell off the tightrope, and now it's over. And let's be honest, like Vic Fangio, if he really wanted to, now congratulations to Jalen Hurts, Vic Fangio, and Saquon Barkley, and also one of the winningest coaches in football, who Cowboy fans need to respect and not think that. And I think that he's going to get fired or
Cowboys and Niner
fans. Yeah, because he did grab a title before a certain Niner coach, didn't he? Okay, I thought so.
He did. He actually won a Super Bowl before
and coached in a whole lot less games too, didn't he? A whole lot less games than Mr. Shanahan.
Yeah, very much.
Has he missed the playoffs since he's been a head coach of the Eagles?
I do not think he's missed the playoffs a single time. I don't think he's missed the playoffs a single time. He's 1-1 in the Super Bowl, and he's basically one possession away from being 2-0 in the Super Bowl.
And he beat Mahomes, right? Okay, that's what I thought.
He did beat Mahomes in the Super Bowl.
That's what I thought.
Crushed him, and then also he's done it with basically a different offensive and defensive coordinator for the last 3 years, if you think about it.
Yeah. And then also I would say this before we go on to the next segment too, is like if Fangio really wanted to be just an absolute, he could have shut this team out.
He could have. They were playing secondary unit.
So. They really before we got the Derek Carr touchdowns at the end, like they really could have just shut them out if they played the starters in there. And shout out to Cooper DeJean as well, and Quinton Mitchell, who just Howie just killed it, man. I'll tell you, some guys
first and second round pick, unbelievable. Your secondary with elite talent,
unbelievable. So let's roll. Like I said, this show is signal caller is for the draft for the quarterbacks, and let's just look at Daryl Jeremiah. So Daryl Jeremiah talks about he basically taking over from Mike Mayock. He has gotten offers to be in the league, to be an executive, but he's so far he's choosing to stay at NFL Network. When he does his big board, that's what he thinks, and he talks about how when he does his mock drafts is what he's heard around the league. All right. Yeah. So let's roll through the top 10 here, and then at the first and foremost is the Tennessee Titans on the Daryl Jeremiah's mock drafts is 1.0. Abdul Carter is first. The Cleveland Browns take Travis Hunter. The Giants take Cam Ward. The Patriots take Will Campbell, the tackle out of LSU. Mason Graham goes to the Jaguars, where I kind of think that when I thought it'd be McMillan, spot for McMillan, but he thinks it's going to be Mason Graham. The Raiders take Shedeur Sanders. The Jets take Tyler Warren. That's very high for Tyler Warren, I think. But Sounds like a jet pick. Then you got
Very
the
much a jet pick. Kyle
yeah,
Brady, anyone? Kyle
yes.
Brady?
I mean, you're gonna pass up. You're gonna pass. Like, who are the receivers there? I mean, I know you got Gary Wilson. Go ahead and get McMillan to go with him.
For
Um,
real.
and then you got McMillan. Going to the Panthers. So the Bryce Young will get somebody there. Mikael Williams, defensive end, goes to the Saints. And then you got Tyler Booker, um, the guard
Guard from Alabama.
from Alabama.
Mhm.
The first three picks for the Bears should be offensive line. I mean, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ. So overall, what are your thoughts about that? About the top 10? And then we'll go, and then after that, we'll go ahead to the Raiders.
I have a hard time believing that that either quarterback drops out of the top two. So I think that one of them's going in the top two. So it's tough for me to think that neither one of them go in the top two in that draft. I understand maybe this is reflexive of the new general manager for the Titans saying, I'm not going to pass on, a generational talent. Sure, that's a nice thing to say. But your job gets cut short very quickly when you don't have a quarterback in this league. And no matter how well you draft and what you do, ask Joe Douglas, if you miss on the quarterback, your lifespan dramatically decreases in the NFL as a general manager. And so that's a tough one for me to swallow there. I would think that Cam Ward would go in those first two picks. I really believe that one of the quarterbacks is going to Cleveland. And so we'll see what happens. And I don't think he's doing it with the trade situation. I don't think Liam Cohen, who's going to have a lot of authority with the Jaguars and a lot of autonomy to make those decisions about his roster, is going to take a defensive player out of the gate with his first overall pick and taking over a quarterback situation with Trevor Lawrence. I think if one of the wide receivers are there, whether if that's, when you want to say Travis Hunter or Ted McMillan, I just don't see how they pass on him there. For a defensive tackle, I just don't see it. People love Mason Graham. Maybe I'm not as high on that, but I want Brian Thomas Jr. and Trevor Lawrence and Bigsby and Travis Etienne, and then adding Ted McMillan to that team. You're an offensive guy. You're coming from Tampa Bay. You had Mike Williams. This is the mold, and it just makes too much.
Mike Williams and Godwin.
I mean, I'm sorry, Mike Evans. Mike Evans and Godwin. So you came in from Tampa Bay where you had the mold of the guy. So right there. You can develop him as you got the finished product of Mike Evans to call plays for. So that's a tough one for me to go. And so I would think I would push Cam Ward up a little higher. And then I think the Jaguars make a different pick there. The rest of it, I don't think the Jets are going to take a tight end. That's tough for me, man. It feels like you said, it feels like a Jets pick, but that's just, man, that's a tough one. I think they could surprise with one of the players that probably isn't a top 10, like definitive top 10 pick. Like I could see Emeka Egbuka going there for a wide receiver. Yeah. I think they could surprise everybody by taking the third quarterback there. That wouldn't be shocking if the Aaron Rodgers thing doesn't pan out, which it doesn't seem like he's coming back. So I think that there could be a myriad of different picks there. They need a lot, but they got to get a quarterback. They can't keep missing on quarterback.
Yeah, listen, they're taking them. They're trying to do it. I think it'd be interesting to see how much input Aaron Glenn has, because Aaron Glenn does have a scouting background as well too. So we'll see, and we'll see what happens with him there. So good luck to the Jets as far as that goes. But I like I said, in this particular draft, I do like McMillan going to the Panthers. The Saints need everything, so like getting an edge is fine. It's fine. That's fine there. Kellen Moore again, what is he gonna do? Like I would, if I'm Kellen Moore, I'm definitely 100% like, hey, listen, I'm going to play Rattler for the entire year.
Yeah.
And see what happens, see what I got. And then if it doesn't work out and I win 4 or 5 games, then okay, fine. And then next year's draft, we'll be at the top of at the top to go ahead and pick whoever is the guy there. Maybe it would be, a whole Manning party. If Manning does one and done in Texas, and Manning goes to where Archie went. And try to resurrect that franchise. So we'll see. I think the 11th pick there, 11th pick right back here. was one I wanted to see. Was that the Niners took an offensive lineman out of Missouri. The Niners, I mean, I know there's some talk about tight end or other positions. Niners need to fix the offensive line. If they
Yeah.
Purdy cannot survive. He is not Michael Vick. He can't survive without an offensive line. Last one I'd bring up would be Gentry going to the Cowboys. That seems like almost a consensus in a lot of drafts I've seen where Gentry goes there. He's not my favorite running back in this draft, but I definitely want to see how he runs in the combine. That would be my biggest thing, and he has a lot of mileage on the tread on
A
those
lot of
tires.
carries.
A lot of carries. I like the guys from split back situations if I can
Mhm.
find them in the draft. All right, so here's our quarterbacks. Dillion Gabriel, the quarterback of Oregon. What do you think?
Well, I am very anti is a strong word, but I'm just don't see it. I just don't see it at the next level with Dillion Gabriel. He measured out smaller than I thought he was going to measure out when they got him at the Senior Bowl stuff.
What was it? What was it? What did he
I think he
measure
was
out at?
five. I think he was just under 5'11", and he was, I think, 207 or 208 in 8 pounds. So not great. Not, I mean, obviously everybody's going to automatically make the Russell Wilson comparisons, but Russell Wilson had a monster arm coming out of college. That guy could throw the ball, and he could still technically kind of throw the ball really well in the deep pass with the moon balls that he had. But he had a rocket coming out of college. He's a baseball player. So
That baseball background
yeah,
there as well too probably helped him out a lot. I am not. I think that he does a lot of good things. And if he was just, and I hate to be like, Skilo and say, I wish he was a little bit taller.
sure. Yeah.
But he would be a baller if he was a little bit taller.
Mhm.
I mean, he's a good player in college. He does a great job of like changing the platform so he can see down the field. He's not afraid to take a hit. I like the way even though they got blown out by a better Ohio State team, he took a shitload of hits in that
Yeah.
game, and he stood in there and he was still just taking hits. He did a good job of dealing with adversity. He's a good leader of that team. A solid release, so it's not like it's funky. It's over the top to get over the defensive lineman, because that's going to be the biggest thing in the NFL. Can he get the ball over the defensive lineman consistently?
Yeah.
He has some good movement to him. He can throw on the run. I mean, I think he could be a spark plug for a team like it puts him in a backup situation where he ends up being,
Called upon.
called upon to say, hey,
Mhm.
we got to win. We're 7-5. We got 3 games here. Can he win? Can he win 2 out of 3? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And then go back to the bench when his starter comes back. I think that's what he is. Just to kind of be fair.
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, if the Raiders, had a solid, if he was there late in the 6th or 7th round, and they had already drafted Shador or Cam, that could be and you feel a lot of your needs already. It could be a why not pick.
Yeah. Yeah, those are like he feels to me like a flyer pick in the real late day 3 kind of stuff. I think that he falls into the categories of like, I feel like there are college quarterbacks and there are NFL quarterbacks. For me, he falls into the college quarterback. And
Fair, very
I'm
fair.
willing to go out. I don't think I'm going out on a limb right there. I think that if he ends up being the guy, I'll be happy to come out and eat crow. I just haven't seen. I just feel like he's one of those guys. It's like Chase Daniel. He reminds me of Chase Daniel. Like Chase Daniel was in college a lot. Like he made a solid backup. He made his way into the career, but I just never thought that he was a real NFL quarterback that could have ever really done anything in the league. And for the most part, he didn't do anything in the league. He just backed up basically everybody and got paid a lot of money to back up guys that were never going to get hurt and never going to outplay, their position and or play under their position to get benched. So like that's who he kind of reminds me of, is that not necessarily the play, but basically the ability. Is that I think that there are guys that can be backups in the league, and I think there are guys that are legitimate NFL talent, and then there are guys that are college quarterbacks, and I just feel like he's the latter. I think he's just a good college quarterback. I don't think a lot of his skills will translate the way they need to because processing, I think, is going to be much harder for him at the next level without the Oregon team, without the Oregon system. And I don't think he's got the talent to be able to do that. I know that people were losing their minds over the 74-mile-an-hour thing. I don't care about that at all.
It's not true, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't even think it was at the point. Like, even if it was, it didn't matter to me. It's like, okay, well, like Jamarcus Russell. That's all that resonates with me is the Jamarcus Russell thing. He could throw it 60 yards from his knees. That's fine. I'm glad he can do that. But it's like, oh my gosh, he's in the NBA. He can dunk. Like, everybody can dunk. Everybody's got a strong arm in the NFL. They don't have there are tiers to the arm strength in NFL quarterbacks, but they can all throw the ball. So it's quarterback is about processing, quarterback is about decision making, quarterback is about the talent, the accuracy, and what you have to do to put it together. So I like Dillion Gabriel in college. It was a big story for them in Oregon. I'm sad that they didn't win and they didn't come through all the way. But in terms of him being an NFL quarterback, it's just not for me, man. I just don't see it.
Yeah, as far as his comps, they're looking at guys like Matt Corral and Stetson Bennett. Are probably some of the comps there.
Yeah.
Consistently shows good ball placement, allowing receivers to maximize yak yardage. Probably was fitting a West Coast offense. Get rid of the ball quickly, get the ball out. His projection is to be a spot starter. So displays good touch and trajectory on deep balls. He can throw the ball. He does throw a really good deep ball, but he does lack the elite zip on the ball to get the ball.
Yeah. You know who he really reminds me of is Graham Harrell. You remember Graham Harrell from Texas Tech?
I think he's better than him, though.
You think he's better than Graham Harrell?
Yeah,
okay.
I think he's better.
That's who he reminds me of, honestly.
I do like the fact that he is a guy who's been in college for a while.
Yeah.
I think, so that helps the situation as far as maybe latching on to an NFL team. But I just don't like I said, he's just not one of those guys who we're gonna say is gonna be you should turn everything over to.
Sure. You mean like 34-year-old Bo Nix?
I mean, listen. You mean Bo Nix, who's the same age as Jaden Daniels?
Yeah,
everybody. That used to drive me crazy. Everybody talked about how old.
Someone said he was 27 on one of the analyst shows during the season. He was like, "Oh, he's a 27-year-old rookie." I was like, "Bro, do these guys even pay attention?
No, he's not.
Do they even pay attention?" He's 8 months younger or 8 months older than Jaden Daniels. 8 months.
Yeah, 8 months.
Not a lot.
That's it. So
he's not Chris Winkie out there.
Chris Winkie was something else. Anything as far as the end of the season? Any kind of things you kind of wanted to that you saw this year that kind of surprised you as far as just to wrap the NFL season before we head into the combine and everything like that?
Honestly, I think this is the resurgence of the running back position. Saquon Barkley was paid the money he deserved to be paid in the offseason. Josh Jacobs was paid. Derrick Henry was paid as free agents. All those guys led their teams in rushing. All those guys were, all those teams were top 10 in rushing. All those teams made the playoffs. One of them won the Super Bowl. It's just, I don't understand where people are like, you don't pay the running backs don't matter, all this. It's like the running game matters. It's always mattered. So for every guy that you pay that doesn't give you the return on investment that you do, there's another guy that you do pay that works. Can we sit it back and be like, Zeke Elliott didn't help the Cowboys even after they paid him, or Derrick Henry didn't help the Titans even after they paid him? Did Saquon Barkley help the Eagles? They paid him. It's just, I think it's a narrative that needs to die, and I don't think it's fair to the running back position because, yes, the short life is small, but you can adjust that contractually and still pay the guy what he's worth. Would the Raiders have been better if they had just Josh Jacobs this year? 100%. If they had Josh Jacobs and Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers, that would have helped, cut down on the turnovers by the offense and by the quarterbacks. Play action would have helped them. So for them to be like, well, they wouldn't have been, the Giants wouldn't have been Super Bowl contenders. Well, no shit, obviously, but you're losing a talent like that. And that's the problem. You can't be good without good players. And you can't just make those decisions when you cut the player midway through the season that you took over Saquon Barkley. It's just the running back position is back. There are at least 10 guys in this draft coming up that I feel like are going to be players in the NFL, real legitimate players, real starters in the NFL, real contributors to the NFL. And there's probably going to be one or two guys in every single round of this draft at the running back position that are going to be good. And I think that's important because the running back position needs to be treated with respect. It needs to be treated with the dignity that it is. Some of our best players in the history of this game are running backs. Barry Sanders, Sweetness, Jim Brown, some of the best players ever are running at that position. So I love that. The resurgence is back. Saquon Barkley came in and rushed for the most yards ever for a running back, with postseason yards included at like 2,563 yards. He's number one on the top of the mountain. Mm-hmm. Congrats to him. He passed Terrell Davis, Hall of Famer in that. So it's like, I think the running back position is back. That's what's one of the most important things. Quarterback is still really bad across the NFL. It's still really bad, and teams are still making really baffling decisions at the quarterback position, including the Raiders. And I can't understand it when people continue to not invest in the quarterback position the way they need to, the way every other successful team continues to do so. Even after they pay these guys, they're still trying to support these talents. And it's just that's another thing that you look across the league, and it's still down. Quarterback play is still bad right now, and it needs to change. It's got to change for the league to be successful.
I think one thing that you have reiterated to me about quarterback is, I think that, obviously taking a quarterback in the first round is kind of where you want to do it. And let's just take the like instance of Daniel Jones. Like and you said it to me too. It's like the Giants didn't make a mistake taking Daniel Jones. If they feel like they really like Daniel Jones and they wanted Daniel Jones to be their quarterback, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
the mistake was extending him when you knew he wasn't the guy.
100%.
And then you
can't let the quarterback position back you into a corner, and that's what happened with them. And they panicked and made that decision. You just can't do it.
Yeah, you can't do it. You can't do it. All right, Ray Nation. We will return next time talking about the draft, and we'll come up with some draft stuff and some combine stuff, and then we'll decide. We'll decide what quarterback is next. We'll then we'll give you some more information and give our thoughts about that as well. Also, I do want to say that next week will be our 1.0 mock drafts. So
yeah,
we're gonna go through and do a mock draft. I think it's I think I'm gonna do what I did with Ryan today. Ryan and I did one where we had scenarios.
I like it.
So like mine was a scenario where the Raiders had they picked up Bolton, they picked up Brandon Cooks, and they also picked up Sam Darnold. So
okay,
and then I'm doing it from like the Raider perspective. So like what I would do is not what the Raiders would do, but I ended up not taking a quarterback till in the first 4 picks. It was only a 4-round draft because I kind of feel like that's kind of the reason why I don't want Sam Darnold, because I can see Carroll, I can see Chip Kelly, like he's only 26, 27. I don't think they're drafting the quarterback if they pay Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I agree with you. So we'll see. So we'll do some stuff like that.
Not at a premium pick, at least. Not in the first 3 rounds.
It would be like might be a Kyle McCord type. Later on.
Yeah.
All right, Ray Nation. Go ahead and watch the Warriors and Lakers. They're kind of fun to watch.
Yes, sir.
So a little bit.
Congratulations on Luka. I guess. I guess
it is wild. It is wild. I mean, I can't lie. Like last night, it's wild to see them play together. It is kind of wild. That's kind of wild.
You see the look on Luka's face when he got the pass to LeBron on an outbound across the court.
Yeah, that's just it's
LeBron
crazy.
is 40 years old, and he's literally going to be in line for his fifth.
How tall is Pelinka? Because he came out. Luka came out of the locker room. Came off the court and was going into the locker room, and then he was like hugging, embracing Pelinka, and
I think he's 6'4" or 6'5".
It wasn't like a lot of inches there. I didn't realize Rob was that tall.
I think he's a former player, isn't not an NBA player, but he's a former basketball player in some capacity. I knew he was an agent, but
that's crazy. I didn't realize. I did not realize he was that tall. That's kind of crazy. Looking like Rob Lowe and shit. All right.
Yeah, right.
All right, Ray Nation. Take care.